Listen. So Amazon's found a way to turn their 2-day shipping into 2 weeks of advertising as they picked up Paramount's popcorn picture, The Tomorrow War, that throwback action flick that's completely geared for its July 4th release because, nothing says America like fighting aliens or The Purge, I guess. It's a dumb blockbuster that delivers on the effects and the action for at least the first half before diving into what I would consider the goofiest third act possible. But hey, they knew it was a stream it. Let me explain. So the movie begins with an action-packed clip from later on in the movie, since it is a film that's over 2 hours long and they gotta get you hooked, because in the age of streaming, man, they got A-listers out here sounding worse than YouTubers.
Watching this on Prime, I would just advocate that people turn their phones off. Turn your phone off, sit down, commit to watching all the way through.
And don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. The movie takes place between two timelines, starting with December 2022, where Pratt plays a high school science teacher who's been denied the ability to move onward in his career.
I am meant to do something special with my life.
And then boom, the plot answers it for him. Future soldiers from the future hijack the World Cup and explain the story and what's going on in halftime. Pretty much by 2048, these vicious alien creatures appear in northern Russia without anyone knowing, and in less than 3 years' time, turn the entire Earth into a quiet place, dwindling the population down to barely 500,000. So their plan is to then draft people from the present, send them 30 years into the future so that they can fight a war that's already killed 99% of them in order to, I guess, have us all go extinct faster. Honestly, they blend in like 20 different time travel rules into this movie that if you were to ask the writers to explain it, they'd probably just go, I'm like, no wonder these kids are more depressed than our actual Gen Z. They've all been told they're going to be gone by 2050.
What's the point?
Obviously, Chris gets drafted as they give him a Mega Man arm and force him to show off his suburban science teacher body.
The gratuitous shirtless scene.
The shirtless scene.
Yeah.
Gotta have one.
I was like, I'm going to improv. Why do I have to take my shirt off into the scene? I think I did.
Boy, ain't you an executive?
I've been given permission by the executive producer, myself, to give you a sneak peek. Let's take a look.
The movie tries really hard at putting an extra emphasis on regular people answering the call of duty, with the director even having actors do ad-libs on set.
And he'd be like, what would you say instead of Colonel? Like if you were trying to get Romeo Command's attention, I'd be like, yo. And he was like, say that. I was like, for real? He was like, yeah.
And everyone who appears for the draft, for whatever reason, is still wearing their street or work clothes as if like y'all had prep time. Like this wasn't Room Raiders. They really had this man with a hat. Chef, boy, if you don't change.
Jasmine, wear this like African necklace. It's a gold African necklace. And he said, I like that. Would you mind giving that to the character? And that's how Lieutenant Hart ended up wearing her black African necklace.
They get beamed up and sent to Miami 2051, which still exists. So the army is ready to nuke it, even though they just sent troops there. But they also had half of them fall from the sky and splatoon onto concrete when they messed up the coordinates. So it's no wonder there's a 30% survival rate for these people.
Well, it's nice knowing you.
Sam Richardson is meant to play the comedy relief as he's one of the ones that gets drafted with Chris, and I think he's been having one hell of a year so far with all the gigs that he's gotten, and considering that this one's directed by Chris McKay, who did Lego Batman and even edited the Lego movie, which stars the other Chris, you know that they made sure to have him survive all the hits so that he can stick the punchlines.
I cannot wait to show you. I cannot wait for the rest of the world to see what I know about Sam, because that dude is like really a triple threat. Like he's actually a crazy martial artist.
Sam is?
Yes.
I made sure that I ate a lot of pasta, and they just made sure that my flat stomach wasn't like a distraction. So I'd make sure I rounded that out.
There's also the themes of fatherhood. J.K. Simmons plays his father, who somehow served in Nam and left his family because of the aggression he was feeling after all of his tours, which, even though Pratt's character has served 2 in Iraq and his wife literally works in vet rehab, he just ignores all that trauma until he himself ends up passing it down to his own kid. With such an interstellar story, Chris finds himself saying goodbye to his young daughter one day and then saying hello to a full-grown version of her the next. Honestly, when you really look at it, his daughter practically raises him.
Everything's gonna be okay, Dad.
Although I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be me telling you that.
His daughter's now a colonel trying to create a toxin that could take down the entire alien species, but first she must fix her toxic relationship with her father. Pretty much in her timeline, he had left him behind and eventually died in a car crash, causing her to have trust issues and resent him. Yet when it comes to picking someone for the most dire mission of all time, he's first billing. What's crazy is if you freeze frame on the files that they had on him when he's getting drafted, they pull up everything. And it wasn't just that he left his family and got divorced, but he was summoned on domestic abuse charges as well as destruction of property. So, with all that being said, I'm surprised she didn't chuck that apology into the ocean.
Listen.
Dorian, played by Edwin Hodge, who was the bloody stranger in the Purge movies, continues to be the savior here, but still doesn't live long enough to see the credits. In my opinion, he should have been the one in charge since he's the one who served 3 tours. He's the one who's a full-on badass and knows the ins and outs to the gears of this war. Unlike Pratt, who endangers everyone by stopping to save one of their fallen, because to him it's all no man left behind, which just leads to him leaving a woman behind too.
I was trying to help.
But I will say that in the first half, I did think they did a great job with the combat and a lot of the visuals. Obviously, the whole movie, it's practically a recruitment manual, but with them working with the government, they also gained access to F-22s that have never been caught on film, and the shots looked pretty good. The entire movie was also remixed and color corrected in Dolby, meaning that it's specifically designed to be the highest quality for streaming. And there are some shots in this that would make Zack Snyder his own pants, which turns out actually came from Larry Fong, his own go-to cinematographer. In terms of the creatures, I love their introduction. Paramount isn't alien to outer space monsters, and they also didn't mind taking influences from Xenomorphs, but damn did they goof on them. Like in the first half, these things are diabolical. They've got like 40 ways to kill you, and they come off super menacing, only to get hit with bits like, bruh, they really Tim Allen the alien. Besides changing their minds on how powerful these creatures are meant to be, they also can't decide what they represent. For starters, they're clearly trying to put a message in this movie about climate change, and it's something that the director has even confirmed, with the setup actually being that the ice caps have melted by 2050 and humanity must come together to stop the world's end.
Martin, can you bring up an ice melt projection for Russia?
Yep.
So you're telling me all this is melting in 30 years?
And when you rewatch it, like, it's littered throughout the movie. Like, there are literal PowerPoint presentations in the background of this film.
We're the fastest growing geothermal energy company in the U.S.
Oh, wow.
They wanted to tie in the global warming effect into everything, so we did a lot of flooding. We flooded almost every street we filmed on, kind of like the Earth is pissed off.
That said, the entire metaphor is pooped because, sir, it's not Earth, it's extraterrestrial beings. It also contradicts the lore that they set up for the white spikes in their little universe, since it's pitched that they're not even the intelligent life. There's real aliens that are out there that haven't come down. This is just their weapon that they corralled together, sent down a millennia ago in order to wipe us out. And I guess they were dumber than humans with the coordinates because they just never bothered to come check on them.
They're called white spikes because they fire these white spikes at people.
The army notes that the white spikes rest on what they call Shabbat, so Pratt enters in and says shalom, leaving them holier than ever as they capture the queen and douse her with melatonin to keep her down, as they create this toxin that will help them take down all the creatures, as Chris goes back in time in order to mass produce it to alter the timeline.
The green vial, where is it?
It's in your hand. We tried to get it from you, but you wouldn't let us.
What do you mean? Just tickle him. With the time link broken, Christopher Pratt's wife is able to solve what none of the world's leaders could for 30 plus years. And that's realizing that they landed like a long time ago, 946 AD. And like, no one bothered to go check out the spot. And yes, they did do Betty Gilpin dirty in this movie.
Betty Gilpin can, turn a line and make you cry instantly. And there's a scene in the movie that she's brilliant in. That we had to cut. Every take, she made me tear up.
And you cut it, but left these?
Job of convincing the world you have a small dick.
Chris makes amends with his papa to help with this international war crime, which isn't even really considered an international war crime because by this point, the nations aren't even united, as they decide to go take out the white spikes in Russia once and for all. The world has come together, but has also quickly fallen apart, as the government who's been helping all along decides not to.
You want me to use taxpayer money?
I mean, yeah, like, how y'all gonna reproduce all of these toxins? It's all made up for the third act. They actually set up and went to go film in Iceland with all their generators and explosions to really drive the themes of this movie home, as Chris practically becomes Star-Lord. See, while the white spikes are strong enough to pound a door off its hinges, it only takes one of them to flip a tank. Christopher somehow finds a way to Mayweather the Queen like he's on Showtime. These things really went from weapons of mass destruction to mechanical bulls. In the end, they didn't really need the toxins since they just blow up the rest of them, as Chris realizes he can care for his family, and you realize that the entire thing was just a big ad for Amazon.
We're the Amazon of Earth Sciences.
Thank you all for checking out this video. I'm curious to know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Obviously, some of the big stuff from last year, no one was paying attention to it. The fact that aliens, I guess, have been confirmed by the government, so I guess it's more believable to believe in them than to believe that this movie was actually original.
Original IP. Well, I read it and I was like, wow, this is original IP. And I say this respectfully to all the streamers out there. A lot of the content on streaming sucks. This is actually really good.
Sure, like, y'all called this a Tomorrow War, but base it off yesterday's movies. There are so many, from Saving Private Ryan to the zombie influences. A lot of the lines that they had in this movie were just like Schwarzenegger lines or other bits. Like, I don't know, I always have a problem with them always trying to refer to something being original.
I feel like there's hints of some of my favorite sci-fi movies in this film, whether it be Terminator or Edge of Tomorrow, or a Looper. I think Looper. Time travel is a cool and exciting thing to think about and talk about, and alien films such as Alien and, yeah, I like that.
In the end, it's just always goofy to see them stroke their originality and put down franchises only to become one. But hey, you had a fun enough movie that I don't think needed to be 2 hours. It could have been trimmed here or there. Not the smartest of them, but hey, you can't really complain when it's on streaming. It's exactly what I would give the movie. I do think that it has some really great visual effects in the first half. I know that they're expanding it to be something bigger, and I just think that they're gonna overuse the time kind of traveling thing into being just something that can alter different timelines and have just a bunch of other wacky stories that'll just be rinse, washed, and repeat practically. But I'm curious to know your thoughts on this movie. Did you enjoy it? What are some theories that you have? What do you want to see them do in the future? A different angle that they can take for it? Any of that stuff down below in the comment section. And until next time, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. And remember, Evans is still the best, Chris.
What did you just say to me?